everyone. You are welcome to another edition of our program. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on your time zone. We welcome you to this very important edition of our program. It is the interest of this channel to review the case of no case submission argument made before Judge James Omotosho before they went on short break. It is interesting to note that on the 18th of July 2025, which was a long-awaited date for the court hearing of no case submission made by the defense team of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. It is the date set for the prosecution team led by Barrister Awomolo will defend his case and make argument while he believed and refused the argument that the case should be dismissed. On the other hand, it was the same date that also the defense team led by Barrister Agabi, senior advocate of Nigeria, will also make his argument in defense of what he believed is no case argument application, which he presented before the presiding judge, James Omotosho. Well, the duty of the presiding judge is to listen to the argument of both parties and make his private decision, whether it is influenced by anyone behind the scene or he objectively decides on the right decision. All this depends on him. But however, it is a public interest case. Therefore, many people want to hear the outcome of this very argument and understand it fully. This is because Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case is a public interest case. Reason, he speaks for the welfare of the poor, the middle class, and the rejected group within Nigerian society and Africa at large. However, the government interest represents few individuals and their groups, like Nigerian oil well owners in Biafra land, the APC politicians, and the neo-colonials, rather than the ordinary Nigerian citizens. Therefore, it must be established that these two individual groups are interested to know the outcome of the proceedings and argument presented by each party in this very case. That is, the prosecutors and the defense team. Before we continue, we must remind ourselves the basic reasons why the defense team objected that there is no case to answer. Coming to it, this was based on the cross-examinations carried out on those presented by the prosecutors as their witnesses. Those presented before the court by the prosecutors were cross-examined, and the level of psych, intelligence, defense, and also objection of the question raised to them made the defense team to conclude that these were people sent to just make a case against their client, could not defend effectively and argumentatively the reasons why they acted as witnesses. Some were guessing, some could not make proper presentation or creditable argument and presentation of what they were accusing their client, and under cross-examination, behaved and answered questions of those who were coached to go out and say things as they want. The rest will be done by those who sent them behind the scene. That was the interest of those who sent them to go and make a case against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. But on the other hand, the defense rejected those arguments. After cross-examination, the defense team concluded that there was no need wasting the time and also government money to make argument with those who do not understand what they came to do. They were coached. Indeed, according to the impression given by the defense team, they never said it openly, but their argument shows that they were only brought to come and make a case against their client. Then step by step, we will go into the main point of the prosecutor's defense as regards the no-case submission presented on the 18th of July 2025. Based on the transcripts of what happened in the courtroom on this very date, we will analyze this point by point on what the prosecution barrister representing the interest of the former Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, who was the man who told Nigerians that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu had been apprehended, unquote, as published on the 29th of June 2021 by various newspapers and news media. Now let us go straight to the argument during the presentation. First, the prosecutors represented by Barrister Awomolo, SAN, argued that, quote, Nnamdi Kanu openly and publicly declared his intention to break up the country, unquote. He alleged that Kanu also declared his plan to establish a Republic of Biafra, unquote. That is the argument in this very particular point of his argument, calling for the continuation of the trial based on the assumption. Well, there are cases that always require to recall other references of similar incidents where it is either used as a reference to the ongoing case or ignored. It is unfortunate or fortunate that those who are prosecuting Mazi Nnamdi Kanu from the southwest of Nigeria, including Judge James Omotosho, the prosecuting barrister for the Nigerian state, Barrister Adeboyiga Awomolo, Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Nigerian Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Mr. Dele Alake, the Finance Minister Wale Edu, Transportation Adeboyiga Oyetola, Beta Edu, Nigerian Inspector General of Police Ayode Ibotoku, Nigerian Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyode, Nigerian Minister of Justice Lateef Fabemi, Nigerian Chief Justice of the Federation Justice Kudrat Kekere Ekun, Minister of Tourism Lola Adejo, are all from the declared Yoruba nation on 8th of May 2024 or thereabout. Here, the argument of the prosecutors is that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu planned to establish a Republic of Biafra. But on the 8th of May 2024, it was reported that Yoruba nation has been established with its temporary capital at Ibadan, with propensity of Lagos being the natural capital after the exit of the regime of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Unfortunately, we never had the defense team mention this to the judge. The judge knew about it. The argument is that it could have been brought forward to remind the judge that a group of nations within Nigeria has already established and announced publicly and openly the establishment of Yoruba Democratic Republic, that Nnamdi has never openly declared such republic for the Biafran state. That is a good point of argument that could have gone to the judge. as part of response to Prosecutor's argument, as all the Yoruba ministers either come from Lagos, Ogun, Osun, Ekiti, Ondo, and Oyo, which are part and parcel of the newly established Yoruba nation. Therefore, if Mr. Kano is planning to establish that has already been established and executed in the Yoruba nation as a democratic republic, therefore, he has no case to answer as such. Because a nation within Nigeria for which the president and his ministers represent have also declared such a republic. Secondly, the argument from the prosecutor that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu made a broadcast on a radio in which he openly and publicly declared his intention to break up Nigeria, unquote. According to the prosecution, his broadcast caused widespread fear among Nigerians. According to the Sun, he argued that boasting about breaking up the country constitutes a serious national security concern and should not be dismissed as mere history, as claimed by Kanu, unquote. Quick reminders on this very issue of broadcast. In the early days of Nigerian independence struggle, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, they all established newspapers for which they used to inform the public of their intentions. These intentions were deemed bad by the colonial administrators for the fear that it will deprive them of their economic exploitations. The same is applicable to any time, any point, whenever any human rights activist or political activist rises up to utilize the advantages created by the United Nations on the self-determination of the people. Always panic and give it a different name. However, one would not dismiss the fact that it was the Yoruba nation activists that made the national broadcast on the 8th of May 2024. On this date, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his ministers were still in power.
Ọjọ́ òní nítorí Ọlọ́run ṣàánú fún wa, torí Ọlọ́run àánú ẹ̀ dúró títí nínú ayé wa, ààrẹ àánú gbà. A ṣe declaration níjọ́ Sunday, November 20, 2022. A ṣe reclamation níjọ́ Sunday, December 18, 2022. Pẹ̀lú àtìlẹ́yìn Ọlọ́run, pẹ̀lú àánú Ọlọ́run, pẹ̀lú ìjẹ́kan Ọlọ́run. A ṣe proclamation ní èní Friday, April 12, 2024. Pẹ̀lú àtìlẹ́yìn Ọlọ́run, ó ti wá sí ìmúṣẹ o, ìjọba délé ti.
And nothing has done to these very great ladies and their groups, both within and outside Nigeria. Kanu was argued to have made a broadcast, but unfortunately, nothing has been done on the broadcast of Mrs. Modupe Onetri Abiola, who declared the Yoruba nation, for which the prosecutors and the judge would be part and parcel when established. All, including the president, will go back to the Yoruba nation. Unfortunately, the Defense Council did not remind the prosecutor, the government, and the ministers that the broadcast of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu or even Mrs. Modupe Onetri Abiola did not fall out of the United Nations guidelines for the declaration of self-government by those who are seeking for declaration of a new state, according to United Nations and African Charter guidelines on people's rights. Nigerian government and the presiding judge need to be reminded of this. That is the preparation everyone expected the defense to present in defense of Mr. Awomolo's argument. On the third point of excitement, which is Awomolo's third argument, he stated, I quote, prohibits inciting statements capable of making citizens' life in perpetual fear. The threat to destroy Nigeria was not idle talk. It was aimed to creating Biafra, and there are consequences for such statements, unquote. This brings us to what took place on the 8th May 2024, in which it was stated, high tension in southwest Nigeria. Deluded Nigerian activist Ms. Modupe Onitri Abiola declares Sovereign Democratic Republic of Yoruba. Another stated, self-proclaimed president of the Yoruba nation, Ms. Modupe Onitri Abiola declared secession of Yoruba land from Nigeria. And finally, the third stated, the invasion of the Oyo State Secretariat by Yoruba Nation agitators, rumored to be members of the faction led by Ms. Modupe Onitri Abiola. Well, one would have expected that similar argument would have been put forward to the judge about what took place in Yoruba Nation, for which nothing has been done and heaven has not fallen. These are the reference points that one would be expected to diverge in the courtroom, although they are acting in accordance with their profession, but the references are made for them to free their clients. Before we end this program, it is important to remind Nigerians, Biafrans, and the world at large that the call for Biafra by Mazi Nnamdi Kanu did not mean to disintegrate Nigeria, but to go out of Nigeria. Example of this can be found in independence of Eritrea. Eritrea did not make Ethiopia disappear or disintegrate. Independence of Southern Sudan did not make Sudan not to exist as a nation or country at large. So the point of argument is that the call for Biafra will make Nigeria to disintegrate. That is absolute misinterpretation of what exit out of a country means. On the other hand, Barrister Agabi explained and declared his arguments on other areas, whereby he made it known that those factors that made them to call for no case submissions is caused by the fact that the witnesses called by the prosecutors did not provide enough evidence, and their arguments and witnesses melted down as the defense team questioned their capabilities and the validity of their witnesses during cross-examinations. Now everyone is eager to see the judge come back and give his judgment on this very case. The case is not a big case, but the Nigerian government is making it to be because of their intentions to stop the continued pursuit of Biafran nation, but allowed the open door for the pursuance of Yoruba nation. No persecution, no extradition, nothing, no case is being heard as that of Nnamdi Kanu from the other side of the nation, where they are still, those in federal government, still building the capital, Lagos, for the Yoruba nation. Thank you. We wait the verdict of the judge. Thank you very much. For those who have not subscribed, we ask you to do so as we proceed in this very program. Please do not fail to share these programs to your friends and well-wishers, and to everyone that is around you within your group. it is very important to know what is happening and what is going on, and people should understand why some arguments are made. Thank you. We come to you once again. Bye.